America is going to be the poorest country in the world starting now. You're going to see the biggest crashes happening right now.
America just chose to elect a convicted felon over the most qualified female candidate in American history. I think this race boiled down to three things: racism, misogyny, and disinformation. Donald Trump turned out racist voters, he turned out misogynist voters, and he tricked uninformed voters by inundating them with disinformation. This is a very disappointing night, and me speaking personally after having tried to get every single policy of Kamala Harris's out, and after trying to convince people correctly that her policy and plans were going to benefit them, improve their lives, lower their costs, reduce their stresses. Donald Trump still won in the end, despite him having laid out his plan to suspend the Constitution, despite his own military generals referring to him as a fascist. They still elected Donald Trump. But I don't want to end on a message of despair. Guys, we need to stay in this fight because now our rights are literally at stake. I'm not going to stop fighting. I hope you guys don't either. Now more than ever, we all need to stick together.
Listen to me. Racism is destroying America.
America is like a house with a crumbling foundation, where the foundation was never built correctly. Whatever house was built on it was always going to have problems because America was built on the foundation of slavery and genocide and the myth of white supremacy.
America is going straight to HE double hockey sticks, and I just don't give a fuck no more. You know, you have a president who can say and do whatever he wants. You know, you have something crazy happening on the news left and right every day. Crime. And it seems like the American people as a whole ain't really rallying up together to use their voice, because it seemed like they in cahoots with everything that's going on. So, like, you know, why even give a damn? You feel me? Why keep raising our voice? Why keep speaking out on injustices when people don't give a fuck? You know, so shit, fuck it. I don't give a fuck. And I think this is the sentiment that a lot of people have reached. If this motherfucker's gonna burn, so be it. Because it seems like nobody is gathering up as a collective group to say, you know what? Fuck this shit. We got to do something about this. It's just not happening. So, you know, America's going straight to a pile of shit, and that's just what it is, bro.
America's downfall won't be caused by foreign enemies, economic collapse, or lack of innovation. It will be destroyed by the very things it was built on: racism, greed, power, and the exploitation of the marginalized.
Your elites have burned through your empire like crepe paper. The American people thought they were on the team, and they're the first ones to be sacrificed. And then the politicians thought that they were on the team, and they got sacrificed too. Every single one of you gets fed through that machine. Every single one of you gets fed through that extraction vacuum machine that you have used to ransack the whole world. And all the time thinking that that ransacking and thinking that all of that pillage was all being done for you. All that time thinking that you were wreaking havoc in the global south, extracting other people's resources, other people's natural wealth, stealing and looting and enslaving people. You thought it was all being done for Bob and Linda in the suburbs. You thought that the colonial imperial monster of America was in service to you and to your comfort and to your convenience. You thought that the whole world was being subjugated to be your footstool, Team America. And you got fat and you got lazy and illiterate and unskilled and complacent and over-entertained and self-indulgent and stupid. And you thought that the carnage machine would just keep feeding you and never feed upon you because Team America. No, you never understood how any of this works in reality or why.
Y'all want to know one real reason why America's crashing out like crazy right now? Mediocrity don't hit like it used to, baby. See, once upon a time in America, you could be real mid and still thrive. Mediocre effort, boom, you get a house, car, annual vacation, pension, hell, maybe even a boat. You could clock in, coast through the week, grill on Sundays, and still retire with dignity. But that era is dead and gone, baby. And instead of leveling up or adapting, they're mad, they're bitter, and they're not even blaming the billionaires. They blaming you. They have the audacity to blame me. They blaming immigrants, black people, queer folk, anyone they think is taking something that used to be theirs by default. See, they don't want equality. They want comfort. And when mediocrity no longer gets them that comfort, they start rewriting the rules to rig the game again. It ain't about fairness. It's about preserving the lie. The lie that being average should still be enough for them.
America is like a house with a crumbling foundation, where the foundation was never built correctly. Whatever house was built on it was always going to have problems, because America was built on the foundation of slavery and genocide and the myth of white supremacy. The entire house was built on a foundation centered around racism and sexism. Every law and law enforcement agency, every city plan, every policy was built on that foundation. The education system, the welfare system, the transportation system, the communication systems, they're all built on that same terrible foundation. And a lot of us grew up believing that we lived in the greatest, strongest, most beautiful house ever built. But then at some point we start to see some cracks in the walls. The walls start leaning in on us a little bit. We're like, hey, something doesn't seem quite right here. We might need to replace some of these walls. So we try to fix it. We fix the leak in the roof by making redlining illegal. We patch up a hole in the wall by allowing women to vote now. But if you have an inspector over, they're going to be like, whoa, I see that you fixed the wall, but you got to do something about that foundation. If you don't replace the foundation, eventually this house is going to fall. But replacing the foundation on a home is near impossible. So instead we hide it. We'll build a fake wall in front of it. Make it so you just can't see it anymore. We're going to make those sections of our history textbooks smaller and a little less informative. We're going to go ahead and ban the criticism of the myth of white supremacy from our schools. While we're at it, let's ban books that criticize the house. From now on, we're going to say that home inspectors are unpatriotic traitors. If you're going to be critical of this house, then clearly you're not a patriot like me and you need to get out. You're not even a part of this family anymore. But it doesn't matter how much you try to hide a crumbling foundation. In the back of your mind, you know it's still there. Ultimately, a large percentage of Americans believe that white men are mentally and morally superior to everyone else. That belief is the cornerstone of America that will always stop this country from being great. No document or law or political party or agency is ever going to make America a great country as long as we still hold in our hearts beliefs that support the myth of the supremacy of white men. We need to tear down and rebuild our entire belief systems.
I want y'all to go back into the American history and see how every single time we get active, they put laws in place to make sure we do not get active like that again. Like because people are always talking about what we're going to do, what we're going to do, what we're going to do, how we're going to hold people accountable. You know what the fuck we need to do. These motherfuckers think that what we're saying are threats that are domestic terrorism. I'm not trying to terrify nobody. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm not trying to incite terror. I'm trying to seek justice. And I'm not trying to seek justice for just now. I'm trying to seek justice since slavery. If y'all don't answer for y'all crimes, this is going to keep happening. These are the same people. The same people you keep forgiving. They keep coming back, festering and festering in that wound of America. What the fuck are we gonna do? When are we going to cut it off?
America is a failed state by any measure. I mean, the United States of America is a failed government. They cannot do the things that governments are supposed to do. I mean, I live in North Carolina. Asheville, North Carolina is still destroyed. So are all the little towns that live outside of it. They're about to cut off food for 40 million people. That's a failed state. That is a government that is no longer functioning. The Republicans in control of the House have taken more days off than any Congress in history. These are our representatives who are literally not going to work because they don't want to make a deal with the other side. They would rather stay home. So we are paying their salaries for them to stay home and complain about people on food stamps. We're a failed state at this point. Our government is no longer able to function. And at the rate they're going soon, they're going to default on all of the government's loans. And if that happens, that's the end of the United States. That's it. No more world reserve currency, no more functioning government. Game over. We're a failed state.
I don't see a healthy and prosperous future for the United States. I don't see the United States pulling through this. We've been trying to pull through this for 250 years. Systemically, fundamentally, and inherently, something is off with this nation. And I no longer want to fix the problems that this nation has brought upon itself. I truly think the only future for this nation is failure or separation. And what do I mean by separation? This nation is too big. There's too many different ideologies. There are too many different races. There are too many different things, too many different factors that are working against the people of this nation. And therefore, I do not see a way out of it but splitting this nation between those ideologies. This nation was separated from the beginning. There was even a civil war fought over this. People, the United States cannot move forward with 50 states on that flag. There's too many differing ideologies. There's too many different types of people here. And these people have shown they do not want to work together. They want to oppress the people at the bottom while using their money to separate us and divide us. The United States was never going to work. And it isn't going to work in the image of white supremacy. The white man has hurt white women. The white man has hurt black men and women. The white man has hurt brown men and women and children of all of these races. People, the only unoppressed person in this nation is the one causing all of our grief. And we have let them walk over all of us for centuries. The truth is, this nation cannot succeed and cannot prosper in its current iteration because it is built off white supremacy, classism, and economic and debt subjugation, people. We are being held down by our very way of life. We can't travel the world because we don't have money for it. We need money. We need to trade our time. Are you guys seeing the bigger picture? They won. And since they won, they get to create the rules. We no longer have to play by these rules. If these people want to play like this, let them go. We no longer need to be emotionally attached to the United States of America. This nation has done nothing for us. The people of this nation have done nothing for us. God bless.
Listen up. So now that we're at war with Iran, I feel like I should go over this vision again. It's called America Will Burn by Dmitry Duduman. And Dmitry had this vision in 1984. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go over the whole thing, but I'm going to pull out some points here. So him and his family come to America from Russia. So he gets away from his family for a moment, goes outside and starts talking to God. He's asking God, why did you bring me to this country? Why are you punishing me? I don't understand anybody. And then all of a sudden, when he's saying this bright light appears. And then the light starts talking. And he said, Dmitry, why are you so despaired? And he said, why did you punish me? Why did you bring me to this country? I have nowhere to lay my head down. Small note, he's talking to Jesus. Then he tells Dmitry, didn't I tell you I am here with you also? I brought you to this country because this country will burn. And then Dmitry says, why didn't you let me die in my own country? And Dmitry said this wasn't a dream. He was awake when this happened. And then the Lord tells Dmitry to get on top of this thing, because he wants to show him something. And then he took him to California and said, this is Sodom and Gomorrah. All of this in one day, it will burn. Then he took him to Las Vegas. He said, this is Sodom and Gomorrah. In one day, it will burn. Then he showed him New York. He said, do you know what this is? And he said, this is New York. This is Sodom and Gomorrah. In one day, it will burn. Then he showed him Florida. And he said, this is Sodom and Gomorrah. In one day it will burn. Then he took him home back to the rock and said, in one day it will burn. All of this I have shown you. And then Dmitry said, how will it burn? He said, remember what I am telling you, because you will go on television, on radio, and in churches. You must yell with a loud voice, do not be afraid, because I will be with you. Dmitry said, how will America burn? America is the most powerful country in this world. Why did you bring us here to burn? Why didn't you at least let us die where all the Dudamans have died? And then the Lord said, remember this, Dmitri, the Russian spies have discovered where the nuclear warehouses are in America. When the Americans will think that it is peace and safety, from the middle of the country, some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the ocean, from Cuba, Nicaragua, to Mexico, he told me 2 other countries, but I didn't remember what they were. They will bomb the nuclear warehouses. When they explode, America will burn. Then he starts talking about how there's 7 million Jews in the United States, but they do not want to recognize him. He said they put their faith in the Jewish people in America. But he said, but when America burns, the Lord will raise China, Japan, and other nations to go against the Russians. They will beat the Russians and push them all the way to the gates of Paris. Over there, they will make a treaty and appoint the Russians as their leaders. They will then unite against Israel. When Israel realizes she does not have the strength of America behind her, she will be frightened. And that is when she will turn to the Messiah for deliverance. He told Dmitri to tell everyone to read Jeremiah chapter 51, verses 8 through 15. And it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. The Lord hath brought her forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. He also said to read Revelation chapter 18 and Zechariah chapter 14. Anyways, I thought I would share because it seems a little relevant now.
So yeah, the exit polling is telling us that Black people tried to save America. Nobody else helped. That's what I see in these exit polls. Black folks tried to save America. And listen, it is documented. I went hard, made some think pieces about my fellow Black men and being like, because I needed to see this number. We have a thought process, I think, in the Black community. You're not going to talk crazy about us and we vote for you. Like, this is not how that's going to work, right? Clearly, the Hispanics and Latinos do not feel the same way that we do. Because this is what I don't think is clicking. When Trump says he wants to deport 25 million people, there are not 25 million undocumented people in this country. And so who are they going to come for? Latino men, Latino women. And 54% of Latino men were like, when I went to sleep last night, I kept saying, like, I don't understand. And it wasn't like I live so deeply in my blue bubble that I just can't fathom. Like, it's literally that pollsters have tried to overcorrect for how they messed up in 2016. So in the last few cycles, they have been overcorrecting around Trump votes. And so you mix that with some reliable pollsters who have said some things. Some of what, as I dug into the polls themselves, what I thought was an over expectation of certain turnouts. Like, you put all those things together, I was expecting Kamala Harris to overperform the polls. I was not expecting Donald Trump to overperform the polls. And that's part of the problem we have here, is that Donald Trump significantly outperformed the polls. And running on deporting undocumented folks, one Latino man. White women, y'all not off the hook. Black folks tried to save America and no one else helped. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
America's downfall won't be caused by foreign enemies, economic collapse, or lack of innovation. It will be destroyed by the very things it was built on: racism, greed, power, and the exploitation of the marginalized. So let's start with racism. America's had a centuries-long addiction to white supremacy, from slavery to Jim Crow to mass incarceration to modern-day suppression. The system wasn't just built on racism, it still depends on it. And you can't build trust and unity and long-term prosperity when the foundation is hatred and division. Now let's talk about the power, because America doesn't just chase power, it hoards it. At the very top, power is concentrated in the hands of a few. bought and sold through billion-dollar lobbying firms and dark money, and the people at the bottom, well, they're distracted and divided and disposable. But power with no accountability always turns inward. It eventually devours its own. Then there's greed. America's true religion. Every institution, healthcare, housing, education, even justice is for sale. The rich don't pay taxes, corporations exploit workers, billionaires fly to space while families can't afford insulin. And no emperor has ever survived when it values profit more than people. And finally, exploitation. This country built its wealth off the backs of stolen people on stolen land. And to this day, it thrives off keeping Black, brown, indigenous, immigrant, and poor communities in struggle. It's modern day plantation capitalism, wrapped in flags and hashtags. But here's the warning. You can only ignore the cries of the oppressed for so long before the system breaks. While America continues to argue about whether racism is real, the rest of the world is moving forward, investing in education, universal healthcare, green energy, and collective progress. They're building bridges, America's burning them. And yes, if this country doesn't confront its demons, it will collapse from the inside out. Not because of the lack of greatness, but because of its refusal to share that greatness with everyone. The future won't be stolen by guns or war. It will be lost in boardrooms, courtrooms, and classrooms where equity is denied and truth is buried. And when America falls, it won't be a tragedy. It'll be a consequence.
I think by 2027, ICE will be much more powerful than people imagine. I think they want to deploy the National Guard to all major cities in America because they're preparing for economic collapse, they're preparing for financial collapse, they're preparing for the national draft. And they will need law enforcement and National Guard in all the major cities, especially in democratic cities like Los Angeles and Boston and Chicago, where they expect the resistance to be the greatest. By 2027, all the ingredients for civil war should already be in place. I don't mean actually, two militaries fighting each other, but I'm saying like nationwide discontent and riots and protests and insurgencies. Okay, so this is going to be low-level conflict, but it's going to be what the Civil War will look like for the next few years. The global economy should have collapsed by 2027. So JP Morgan has reports saying that the world will run out of oil by the end of this month.
And that's because of the closing of the Strait of Hormuz.
That's right, because of the closing of the Strait of Hormuz.
I am not going to end this year on a happy note, but I will let you guys know this. A lot of you are going to change your tune when your loved one or your relative, your close one, the partner that you have, suffers. Maybe even dies. But that's when you're going to start speaking out. That's when you're going to stop saying that, oh, I'm not educated on this thing. Oh, I don't feel comfortable talking about this. Yeah, you will be.
Dear Black people, even though America is falling apart, we do not give a fuck. Are we in agreement? Yep. Clock. We have always been in the business of minding our business, and I just wanted to let my fellow brothers and sisters know that this is not our problem. We already have bigger fish to fry, and one of them is definitely learning them line dance. Because, baby, the time is coming where we're going to have to bring them boots and them fans out, and we're going to have to celebrate because it's almost over. All the promises that America has made to our people that they have never fulfilled. All the dirt and hurt and shit that's been done to Black people. Why the fuck would we give a good goddamn? Right. My point exactly.
None of this would be happening if they had just punished the Confederate Army like they were supposed to. Since America didn't see fit to punish those Confederate generals and soldiers like traitors like they should have, they gave space for certain groups to feel like they had a valid space within American society. I don't think we would have had the Klan. I don't think we would have had Jim Crow. I don't think we would have had as much institutional racism. Desegregation probably would have gone through a whole lot sooner. And this is how I know when people talk about the Civil War, it was not about freeing the slaves. Because if it was really about freeing the slaves, then they would have cleared out the infrastructure that allowed it to exist for so long. They would have outlawed the Confederate flag. Any Confederate generals' names would not be on all these forts and army bases. The only mention of the Confederacy would have been in history books to let people know this is what happens when you betray your country. It's like removing cancer. If you're going to try to get rid of cancer, you have to get rid of every single cell. Otherwise, it's going to spread again. Because the only way this nation will survive is if we handle racism. If we do not get it out of our system, this is going to happen again and again until this nation completely crumbles.
How we doing, my friends? A pleasant good morning. Officer Reed. America's burning. Ladies and gentlemen, America's burning. But what kills me the most is the fact that all these media houses, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, the whole 9 yards, there's so much demonstration, but nobody is covering these demonstrations. There are so many different groups that are demonstrating in America. And you watching the media, you watching the news, you would think that everything is status quo. I wonder why they fail, or they're not promoting these things. Back in the days, if a monkey took a poop on a freaking highway, somebody reported. A dog get caught in, I don't know, in the lake, or a cat stuck in a tree, it's reported. But something as pivotal and as important as, you know, different government entities and, you know, citizens of this great nation are protesting the injustice and the disrespect and the disregard for rights and our Constitution, that goes unnoticed by the media. Now you tell me Fox News, you tell me CNN. Who are the fake news? Who are the fake news? Donald Trump, you never served a day in your life. Elon Musk, never served a day in the military, a day in your life. As a matter of fact, you're from South Africa, where you guys believe in discrimination, racism. As a matter of fact, your family, you know, encourage and support apartheid for how many years in South Africa? You're here now. You got wealthy through the federal government, through the government subsidies, just like my grandparents or, you know, other parents that are getting Social Security or gets welfare. You got your wealth from the federal government. You got your welfare from the federal government, and now you're going around determining and deciding who, you know, who gets hired and who gets fired, and cutting jobs and getting access to our confidential information. This is horseradish. This is ridiculous. And I'm telling you, America, if you don't do something, it's gonna be too late pretty soon. Y'all need to do something. You know what's funny? This fool, this president, he is talking about, you know, Jamaica, you know, Caribbean countries or islands should disassociate themselves from Cuba and, you know, the medical fraternity in Cuba. But he's the same clown that is kissing up to Putin. Same clown that is working for Putin. Who is a communist? So I'm trying to understand the rhetoric here, because it seems kind of oxymoronic. It's not making sense. So somebody help me to understand, so I can get a better sense of this, the mindset of this clown, right? On top of that, a gentleman yesterday said to me, hey, you know, he's a businessman. Somebody actually put that in my message, in my comment box, that, you know, Donald Trump is a businessman. Let me say something to you. Donald Trump has had 14 litigation against him for fraud and bankruptcy. 14,000. I'm sorry, 14,000. 14,000. On top of that, he has had over 6 bankruptcies, and it's public knowledge, so you can go check that. So he's no businessman like you think. A lot of the businesses that he's invested in went under, from Trump Steak, Trump University, Trump Airline, to doggone the casinos, all went under. In 2005, he couldn't get any more money to borrow from the United States. He couldn't get any loan because it was all topped out. Everything he did was all bankrupt. So he went to Russia to get a loan. So that's why now he's working for Putin, because he went to Russia to get money back in 2005, between 2003 and 2005, because he could not get another penny from America. So you start putting the numbers together. And I'm sure by now you guys realize that everything he has said is a lie. So it's up to you to make a decision. America's burning. We need to put the fire out. Have a great day.
The only thing I care about in regards to America turning 250 years old is the empire collapsing. I honestly don't care that this is a holiday where white people gained freedom from other white people. And then they literally said that everyone has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but realistically, that was only for white people. And more specifically, that was only for white men. And more specifically than that, it was only for straight white men. Like when they said everyone's created equal, they literally were only talking about straight white men. That's it, that's all. So I quite literally do not care about America turning 250 years old. The only reason I care about that is because I know the average lifespan of an empire is 250 years old. So honestly, we might be, collapsing. And honestly, I find joy in that because honestly, the systems of capitalism and the systems of patriarchy, those need to collapse. So realistically, I hope that's what's happening. I don't care to celebrate the 4th of July at all. Because realistically, it's not a holiday for anyone other than white people who gain freedom from other white people. That's literally what the holiday is. Like, that's not something to celebrate. It's quite literally not something to celebrate at all. So I literally don't care. Besides the fact that 250 years is the average lifespan of an empire, meaning that this empire is collapsing. And we're currently in the collapse, by the way. Like, you can just kind of tell that the American empire is collapsing. It's kind of going slow because the people who hold the positions of power are kind of like holding on for dear life. But realistically, it's inevitable. These systems can no longer continue in the way they have been because it's actually beyond corruption. So yes, the only thing I care about in terms of America turning 250 years old is the fact that the American empire is probably going to be no more. And we're within the collapse already of capitalism and patriarchy. Because I feel like people are having an awakening and realizing that these systems were actually never working for the people. It was only working for the people at the very top. And a lot of people who are not black basically got tricked into believing that they were better than just because they weren't black. But realistically, that really wasn't the case because the people at the top didn't care at all. They just wanted there to be some sort of alliance to people who don't like black people so that literally they can have that system play out and have the system of racism continue. But realistically, they don't care because those are the people at the top. So yes, I just am ready for this empire to collapse. That's the most exciting thing about America turning 250 years old, for real.